Oh, je vous aimerais, ma foi, je ne sais pas.
Princesses, broken vows, love, betrayal, and revenge. These are the rich ingredients that opera lovers and novices alike have awaiting them in the Atlanta Opera's upcoming 1994 season. The combination of Puccini's Turandot, Bizet's The Pearl Fishers, and Bellini's Norma promises to be one of the most spectacular seasons ever for the Atlanta Opera. Artistic director William Fred Scott joins me to give us a taste of what to expect from this year's colorful performances. Welcome to our program this morning.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. It doesn't sound much like a family season, does it?
No, and we opened with Carmen, but a very different Carmen. Let's briefly talk about what we just saw. Yes, that's
that was a production of Carmen that we did sort of designed to shake everybody up a little bit. Although Carmen has become a great classic in the opera world, we decided to do it in modern dress so that we could sort of slap people in the face a little bit and say, look, opera is still very musical, but it's also very, very dramatic. And I think it worked. We got a lot of new audience members that were afraid opera was just going to be a bunch of fat people singing in an unintelligible language to each other, you know.
As artistic director, one of the fine things you get to do is pick the operas that they're going to be part of it. And you said, before the interview started, I asked you, what is your favorite opera? And you said all of these are, it's hard for you to pick.
I love them all. It's hard to pick a favorite. I mean, the one I'm working on at the moment is the one I love the most. And maybe it has to be that way. Maybe that's the way you get your best energy out of a performance. But I love them all.
A lot of people don't know that Atlanta had its first taste of opera back in 1866.
I think, yes, I think that's right.
That's not when the Atlanta Opera started, but that's...
that was my first performance. Don't you think I look young for my age?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Price of admission back then was $2, which was
high
very
priced.
Stiff. Yes.
That's very high priced. I didn't realize it was so high. Atlanta does have a good history of opera, not just that sort of Civil War thing, but you know, for years, 75 years or so, the Metropolitan Opera toured to Atlanta in the spring. By the time they stopped their tour in, I forget what, 80-something, they were playing 8 performances within a week, and that's a lot of opera. And it was a magnet for Atlanta and also for the Southeast, and we're trying to fill in those shoes a little bit with what we do in the summer.
Now, the Atlanta Opera is about 14 years old, and you've been here about 9.
I've been in Atlanta for 12, and I've been associated with the opera company for either 9 or 10. I'm never really quite sure when it started. It seems like I've been doing it all the time, but we're about a decade old. Yeah.
One of the restrictions that you have is that we don't have an opera house here in Atlanta.
Right.
You perform at Symphony Hall, and that is a restriction because there's 3 operas this season. What are your hopes for having your own opera house or taking
we'd love
over?
we'd love to be able to perform more during the year. Symphony Hall is a very good opera house. It's the stage is very well equipped. It has a nice-sized orchestra pit. The backstage is congenial to artists, and the seating capacity is nice, about 1,800 seats. That's a lovely size. In fact, it's a gem of a size. The problem is the orchestra is there most of the time, and so we can only perform when the Atlanta Symphony is either on vacation or on an extended tour. So it puts us kind of sandwiched in between everything else they do, because they rehearse there in the summer as well. So we're there in early to mid-June. Our first performance, I think, is June the 16th. And then we're there towards the end of August and at Labor Day. It'd be lovely, I think, and I'm putting all my eggs in this basket, it'd be lovely if the symphony would get itself a new hall, and we could take over the old one. And then we could perform all during the year, which we'd love, ideally, to do.
Atlanta responds well to the opera, and you are doing well. However, there is that intimidation for people that don't not so much appreciate opera, but don't understand it, and they're intimidated even to come to an opera. What are you doing to entice people to try it?
Well, I like to tell people whenever they ask me about opera that opera was never meant to be intimidating. It was supposed to be a combination of great music and great drama and some sort of stage spectacle, and it was the West Side Story or My Fair Lady of 1600s. It was not supposed to scare people away. Unfortunately, our dramatic skills got to be such that people just sort of stood around on the stage and sang in unintelligible languages, and people in the audiences, unless they had done a great deal of homework or they were from another country, they simply didn't understand what was going on. And I don't think we do our audiences a service if we present opera that way. We live such a visual medium, so we try to act it as well as sing it well. You know?
And very much more theatrical than maybe.
Yes, it's a very theatrical occasion, which is the way it should be. And we have something that I think is very helpful. We have super titles. Not because they're super little titles, but because they're
because-
super, literally above the
And
stage.
if people want to understand what's going on, I'm sure that
There's a
that's
running
great.
translation all night long. Even the operas that we do in English will use super titles. And I think they're a wonderful thing to have, even if you've been going to the opera all your life, as I'm sure you have. Karen,
I wish I
expect
could
to
say
see you.
that,
Yes,
but
I
I'm gonna
expect to
try
see you with a
this.
nice Italian name like that.
I
Even if
could
you've been going
understand
to operas a long time, there's no way you can remember all of the little nuances of
Right.
the plot and stuff. And so I find it very helpful to be able to just sort of glance up, and it doesn't take but a second to glance up at the title. It's not distracting in any way to the stage picture. And for the people that really don't know what they're seeing, it's a great help. It takes away that barrier of communication that people will very easily throw up into opera, because it is sort of an exotic,
Right.
irrational entertainment, as Samuel Johnson called it. You know, it is a little off-putting. So we try to make it as user-friendly as possible.
And most of the performers are, you have some performers from here in the
Yes.
city, but performers coming from different areas.
It's a regional company in a way. That is to say, it's the company that has the most notoriety in this area of the Southeast. It's a national company in that most of our singers come from around the country. But it is a local company in that the orchestra is totally local, all of the chorus is local, dancers, if we use them, are local, and occasionally some of the leading roles can be local. There's a wonderful soprano that sang the leading role in Bohème some years ago, and she's going to be in Turandot again this year, Terry Hopkins. So
Well, I know you have plans through the year 2000, which we'll have to come back for the next season.
I'd love to.
Season tickets, we're going to offer our viewers this number. It's 355-3311 for season tickets. Or you can call 1-800-35-OPERA to find out about this season's Atlanta Opera. Thank you so much to William Fred Scott.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be with you.
Best wishes.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll have more from Between the Lines right after this.